this 2 minute turned back and it came to me and it stopped next to me. The person who was wearing a helmet removed the helmet. It was a woman. And that woman asked me, aren't you Neeraja Ganesh? Now, I'd never seen this person before, but she seemed to know my name. So I said, yeah, I am Neeraja Ganesh. So she said, thank you for the work that you're doing for women like us. Which is when I realized that we don't even know the impact of what we are doing.
As a coach or as a consultant, I think it is the best moments of our life.
I can make money in so many other ways. This is just not working out for me. For example, somebody else is running a community of women for XYZ. Let me also do that. If you start your own community, it's not going to go anywhere.
What is the difference between personal brand and influencers? Why it is needed?
So branding does not mean you're becoming an influencer. It doesn't mean that you have to influence. Branding means you are going to become a thought leader. Influencers may not necessarily be displaying any of their thought leadership. They are largely promoting someone else's brand. And people just love them. Maybe the way they look, maybe the way they dress up, maybe the way they speak. Thought leadership is about what do I think about a particular aspect.
Have you ever paused and asked yourself why we are doing what we are doing? Not just for paycheck or job title, but actually what matters to us. So in the world where we celebrate constant hustle and achievements, we never often slow down and ask ourselves that why we are doing what we are doing. So today's episode, we are diving into that very questions with the person not only created the path but walked onto the path. So today's our guest is Neeraja Ganesh ma'am. She is TEDx speaker, leadership mentor and a speaker. So if you are a manager or whether you are a student, this episode is for you, where we dived into that why we are doing what we are doing, what is the purpose behind it, and why we need to know about the purpose. Learn about leadership is not a position, leadership is a choice. So enjoy the episode. So welcome Neeraja ma'am, one more episode of Pooja's talk show. So I'm really happy to have you here. So how are you ma'am?
I'm doing so well. Pooja, after it feels like, as you said, we've known each other for a very long time, and that story will evolve sometime when we speak. Very thrilled to be able to be on your show, and looking forward to this conversation.
Great. So it's been, I think past 7 years I know you from one of the community, and I have seen, even though I know that you were the part of the community, you were doing so many things, and you have became like a brand. And everywhere we can see you, like all the platforms and all the way. And even though at my workplace it was a dream come true, seeing you as a guest, it was really pleasure for me. So ma'am, how does all these things happen? Even though I know your story, I have gone through your lot of podcasts and videos and TEDx talks, so I know. So my audience would love to know a little bit about your journey.
Sure. So let me start from the meek, timid, shy girl that I was, which many people don't believe. But those who know me from then are not able to believe the Neeraja that exists today, right? So yeah, I come from a very conservative South Indian family. I'm an only child, and I grew up to be a very meek, timid, shy girl. I just did what my parents asked me to do. So I went to school because, that's what you would do. I knew that my parents were going to get me married, and that was their only ambition in life. But obviously, they can't get me married till I'm at a particular age. So they did send me to a good school, and I'm grateful for that. Went to a good college and all of that. A lot of that story comes out in my TEDx talk. So, this is a plug for people to watch my TEDx talk. But I really didn't have an ambition which said, okay, I want to be a career woman, right? But I wanted to earn some money of my own. I don't know why. It wasn't as if there was no money. Parents provided for me quite well. But there was this itch, all of us have. So when I was studying, I felt I should earn a little bit of money for myself. So after I finished my graduation, when my parents were looking out for the Mr. Right for me because it was going to be an arranged marriage, I told my father that this seems to be the IT boom, okay, software boom. That was what was called in the early 1990s. A lot of institutes were there who were training people to become, software programmers. It was said that if you're a software programmer, you can earn a lot. So I said, let me go and study. The deal was that if my father finds the boy during my course, and if the boy says stop studying, I should stop studying. That was the deal. And I agreed to it because I said, even if it means 1 month I go and study, let me study. Right? It was a 2 year course. And we didn't know when this boy will arrive on the scene, right? And that's one of the big learnings for me that it was good that I said, okay, I agreed to that. I didn't sit and fight about it. I got married only after 4 years of that conversation. They found the Mr. Right only after 4 years. And if I were to go back and think of my mother, who had a similar experience, she finished her graduation. She was superb, she topped the college. She got an MSc seat, Master of Science in Mathematics. The same thing was told to her by her mother. She wanted to do MSc, but her mother said, my grandmother told her that fine, you go and take the seat, but if the boy comes, because we are looking out for you, then you have to quit the studies. And my mother fought. She said, no, you have to give me 2 years. And my grandmother didn't agree to that. So my mother did not join us. But it took exactly 2 years for my father to arrive on the scene and for my mother to get married. And she keeps regretting it till date, saying that I should have gone. Right? And that was different in my life. I said, okay, when you find the boy, we'll think about it. Today I'm going and studying. So long story short, I finished the course, I got my first job, and I've continued. I kept thinking maybe I'll have to quit when I get married, maybe I'll have to quit when I have a daughter, a baby, or so on. But I did not stop work in the technology field for 25 years, except for a 10-month break when my daughter was born. She's 23 now, or going to be 24 soon. And then I decided, because of certain things at home, that I can't continue in the corporate. Had done enough in 25 years. I really wanted to help women because I know my own story, and I've seen many other women who don't necessarily get opportunities, though they are so competent. So I thought I had to do something in the space for women, and so I started, doing a few things, some mentorship programs, some training programs, and all of that, which will unravel as we go.
Okay, that's really, really amazing, ma'am. So, from IT sector to leadership coaching and empowering women, especially women, for the leading their way and inculcating them in the leadership quality and so many other things. So, what was that defining moment, ma'am? The moment you felt that you are not just building a career, you are building a legacy.
Yeah. So of course I told you I quit after 25 years of tech, and then I started, looking at opportunities where I could help women. So the first thing that I did, of course, I was a mentor, on a few platforms which were for women. One of them was Jobs for Her. Another one was She Rose, and I think Jobs for Her is where we met on that WhatsApp group, which was a WhatsApp group for ambassadors. Then I went on to head the Jobs for Her Foundation. So I know the founder of Jobs for Her, which is now called as her, Neeraja Ganesh. So when I quit from the corporate, she knew I had quit. So she asked me if I would come and head the not-for-profit foundation. So I said, sure. It was a passion. I really wanted to do something in this space. So why not, right? And I did what had to be done. I didn't really think what kind of impact I could create by myself or by being part of this movement. But I knew that, everything that I do has an impact, so let me keep doing it, right? So it was a brand new not-for-profit that we were building. So I had to kind of build a community. I had to build partnerships so that, we are able to take some programs for these women. We had to get sponsorships. We had to do a lot of communication through social media and otherwise because people had to know that something like this exists. And all of this was very new to me. When you are in the, at least then, people now in the corporate spaces understand all of this. But in those days, we didn't do all of that. I was a tech leader. I did my job. I mean, I didn't have to really go around, building a brand and all of that. So the defining moment, as you asked me, right, or the moment which made me realize that what I am doing is bigger than what I'm thinking it is, was on 31st December 2018. I remember this date very well. I got on to heading the Jobs for Her Foundation in January 2018. I had quit in September 2017 from my corporate. So in those last 3 months of 2017, I picked up a few consulting gigs. I was volunteering and all of that. I went on to head the foundation in January 2018. At the end of the year, the last day of the year, I decided I'd do some shopping. So I took the cab and I got off. So the shop that I wanted to go, it was a gold jewelry shop. Obviously today I can't afford all of that. The gold prices are crazy, but then it was all right, I think. So I got off from the car. The shop was on the other side, and I was crossing the road, and I saw a two-wheeler pass by. Okay, and then I saw the two-wheeler slow down. And something in me was, asking, is this person slowing down because the person wants to come and meet me, or is it because the person has taken a wrong turn? I don't know what it was. Anyways, I crossed the road very, very slowly and I went to the other side and I stood there. This two-wheeler turned back and it came to me and it stopped next to me. The person who was wearing a helmet removed the helmet. It was a woman. And the woman asked me, aren't you Neeraja Ganesh? Now, I'd never seen this person before. Okay. I don't know her from anywhere, but she seemed to know my name. So I said, yeah, I am Neeraja Ganesh. So she said, when you got off from the car, I thought you were Neeraja Ganesh. And there was no way I was not going to come and meet you. And thank you for the work that you're doing for women like us. Thank you for all the great work that you do for women like us, and please keep doing it. Then she put on her helmet and she went back the same route. Which is when I realized that we don't even know the impact of what we are doing. I used to mentor women. So I know if you come to me for mentorship and you tell me that, there has been a transformation, I know I have impacted you. But some random person walking on the road, which means that the work that I was doing through the Jobs for Her Foundation and everything else, the trainings that I was doing, the workshops, the writing that I did, the keynotes that I was delivering at conferences, had impact that was beyond what I could see. And in some ways, I think I was creating things for myself.
Wow, that's really really amazing moment, ma'am. And I think I can feel, when you are narrating that particular moment, I can feel the energy and the feeling. How much greatness you would have felt, like because of you something has changed, and your work or your initiative has change somebody's life. And I think it is as a coach or as a consultant, I think it is the best moments of our life. So absolutely true, ma'am. And whatever you are doing, it's really really commendable, because there are a lot of coaches and consultants in this leadership field, but there are very less people who are working to empower women entrepreneurs or women. So that's really amazing. So ma'am, I was researching about you and I was going through your so many videos. So most of the time you are talking about purpose. When you are doing something, there should be a purpose, or you need to know about your purpose. So I want, on my audience behalf, I would love to know that what is a purpose, and why we should know about our purpose, and what is the benefit of if we know about our purpose. What change will happen, like whatever we are doing, if we know about our purpose.
Sure. And this one can be a very long discussion, because I conduct long workshops on it. But let me kind of try to squeeze it into a short answer. What matters to us, right? That's in some ways our purpose. What matters to us? So if I were to ask you a question, why are you doing this podcast? There is a why behind it. Okay. I don't host podcasts, but I'm happy to be on as many podcasts that people invite me for, which is what you came across when you did your research. So many. So, what is my why? My why is very simple. Why equal to purpose is very simple. To bring out a mindset shift with every interaction that I have with women and students. A very simple purpose. Whatever that interaction be. Now, that could be by being on podcasts. That could be like I've been running a challenge called as the LinkedIn Writing Mindset Challenge because I realized that many people have these weird fears in their head saying that should I write? People will judge me. Who's going to read and all. So one fine day I said I'm going to run, 2 week LinkedIn Writing Mindset Challenge, and the third cohort is running the workshops that I do, the leadership programs that I do, the speak when I go in stages and speak, when I write content, whether it's on LinkedIn or anywhere else. All of this brings about a mindset shift, and I'm happy with that, and that's my purpose. And I haven't felt the need to start my own podcast, at least as yet, to achieve that why of mine. However, I'm sure you have a why because of which you're doing the podcast, right? And you spoke about other initiatives that you are running. And that's purpose. Now, many people say they want to be, a guest on many podcasts. They want to speak on stages. And my first question to them is, why do you want to? And largely because they see, like, if Pooja is running a podcast, I think she's got great branding and she's got great visibility, a lot of fame, and maybe a lot of money also. So that's why people want to do it. Whether you are a guest or a host on a podcast, whether you're speaking on a stage, whether you're running events, because it gives them fame, branding, money, and a few things. But that is just an outcome of whatever we do. Yes, fame, brand, money, everything will come as an outcome. But what is your real why? See, I mean, today, like that woman on the road identified me, which means I had some branding that I had got, but I never worked. I mean, whatever I did in that 1 year of heading the Jobspur Foundation or anything else that I did was not to get that kind of recognition or the kind of money that you brought. The underlying purpose was I should bring about a mindset shift, which has probably happened with that woman. That's why she turned around and came and met me. And there's so many women, right? So that's why it is very, very important to know your underlying purpose. The purpose and why is very important. Otherwise, you will not be there for the long haul. I mean, how many episodes are over for you now, Pooja, on your podcast?
Mine, it is 100 plus, ma'am.
100 plus, right?
Yeah.
And your initial podcast must have been a little bit of struggle in terms of maybe even recording it, in terms of putting it out on YouTube or wherever, trying to get subscriptions, trying to get people to watch it, and all of that, right?
Yeah.
And that is what happens if people start doing something without their purpose and why. Somewhere along the line, they will want to pivot. They will want to meander. They want to pause. They want to stop. They want to do something else because they suddenly start feeling purposeless. Why am I doing this? कोई तो देखता नहीं है मेरा video मैं क्यों करूं? Right? But if you have an underlying purpose, it will not matter. Even if there is one person who has watched it and told you it has made a difference to that person, you will continue on, right? So recently, a friend of mine, she started a community of women, and she said her purpose was that in that particular industry for which she was starting the community, there aren't too many women. It's a very male-dominated industry. So she said, I'm going to start this community so that I can bring more women into the industry. Now, after running this for 3, 4 years, she suddenly one day said to me, there's no point in this feature. I can make money in so many other ways. This is just not working out for me. Now, if the underlying purpose was to have more women in that industry, I'm sure she will keep at it. Right? You cannot just look at others because they are doing something else and started. For example, somebody else is running a community of women for XYZ. Let me also do that. If you start your own community, it's not going to go anywhere unless and until you have that deep purpose under you. That's when whatever be the outcomes, you will keep at it. And one fine day, things will change for you. Otherwise, you'll say the grapes are sour. Okay, so it's not about me and my issue. It's just that the tree and the grapes are some. So without a solid purpose, just because Pooja has a podcast or Neerja is on stages, if you're going to do the same things, you will give it up when you don't get enough traction, you don't get enough viewership, you don't get enough subscriptions, comments, likes, etc. But when that purpose is there, even if one person tells you that it made a difference to your life, you will keep going. And that's why that why and purpose is so important.
Wow, that's really, really beautiful, ma'am. And I 100% resonate with you. And yes, ma'am, the podcast, past 3.5 years, I'm doing this. And I remember I started with the Instagram live. And as you said, so many times it happens, only one person was watching my episodes. And so many times, even my family member used to ask me, like, what are the benefits you are getting? Why you are always, doing this? And nobody's watching, there is no nothing. But I felt like, because I became a coach because of one video, so I thought if one video can change my life, so people like me, the girl like me who came from the small city, a Hindi medium background, so why not my things can change people's life? Why can't my skill set can help somebody? So that's how I started. And in this entire journey, I met amazing people from from TV to consulting industry to coaching trainers and different people, and I have changed and learned a lot. Even though the people who are watching with me, they have learned a lot, and that's makes me keep going. As you said, you met that lady, so whenever I remember when I started the podcast, I'm just sharing first time today. I think after 6 to 7 podcasts, I got one message on Instagram, because on that time Instagram live was there. One person was there. He written that he was going to commit suicide or something like that, and he said that I inspired him, and he will do something for with his life, not going to ruin his life. And that was very motivating factor for me, that people to watch and it inspired them. Then okay, it's not only inspiring me, it's inspiring other people as well. So that is the one thing which keeps me going, that it's changing somewhere somebody's life. So absolutely true, ma'am. Like without purpose, it is like it will not be long time or sustainable. So absolutely, I do believe in that. So, ma'am, I was gone through a lot of videos and lot of content, and when you were talking about leadership, and whenever I read about leadership, and I came to know, then you were talking about that leaders should be enablers, not bosses, right? They should enable people, and you have talking about inclusion and so many things you have talked about it. So want to know that how the enablers will help to grow people, and is there any incident happens with you where you have just enable people and they have given the different outcomes rather than controlling them?
Yeah. There are many stories, but one I will kind of bring out for a conversation. So I worked for 16 years in this company called as ANZ. It's a bank, and I worked in the technology, part of this bank. And I was asked to head this particular team of about 32 people, which was working in the retail banking space. So we understand retail banking, right? So retail banking is, of course, today a lot is done over internet, the internet banking. But in the good old days, you used to go to the banks with the tellers, the telling system, the core banking, which takes care of the back end, the ATM software. All of this was managed by this particular team. The technology was managed by this team, 32 of them. They were managing the Asia Pacific, branches, the technology for the Asia Pacific branches of ANZ. Now, I was asked to take over this team, and I was told this team is very unhappy and they don't mingle with the rest of the organization. And so I want you to change this. Okay, this team, people don't move out from this team. They continue to be in the same team. They don't interact with the rest of the organization. They keep to themselves. They're very unhappy. So you have to bring about a change. That was the mandate given to me by the management. So of course I went and I took over, and the first 1 month I spent only in talking with them. I did a lot of one-on-one conversations, and I think no other leader had probably done that with them. That they give them time, one-on-one, 1 hour, 2 hours. People started asking me for more one-on-one conversations. While I had scheduled one-on-one with everyone, people said, no, I want a second one, I want a third one. And a lot of things came out in that conversation. Why were they so unhappy? So their story was that the management doesn't care about us. So it was a very different story, right? The management said this team doesn't gel with the rest of the organization. The team is saying the management doesn't care about us. And why did they say the management does not care about us? It's because they felt they were not getting enough promotions. They were not getting, better roles. They were not getting any rewards or recognition. They had a lot of complaints. So I heard all of this. And I also realized that, see, how does growth happen? How do you grow in an organization? So you join as a fresher, and then when you perform well, you have been trained and you have learned. Then you, after 1 or 2 years, you get promoted to the next level. So in this case, since we're talking technology, maybe you join as a programmer, then you become a lead programmer. Then you go and become a designer. Then you become a team lead. The growth. And you know that if there are 5 people at the bottom of the pyramid, by the time you go to the top, there will be only one person. Okay. So how is a vacancy created for you to grow? Only when someone exits out of the team or when the team itself grows. But this team has been static, about 32 people. Suddenly you can't just keep growing because you want to, promote people. So if somebody does not move out of the team, then the vacancy doesn't come. So you are continuing to stagnate where you are. The fresher stays there, the person is not, despite all the great performance, is not able to move to the higher levels. And the senior people in the team would not let anybody move out of the team because they felt that the subject matter expertise that the people had learned, because it's a retail bank, it's a lot of core stuff that you have learned. People can't learn it overnight. So if I were to train someone and then after 2 years move the person out of the team, then I'm losing all that expertise, right? So nobody was allowed to move out of the team. Nobody was allowed to come in, newly into the team. If at all, then it was, at the fresher level as an intern. So people were stagnating. So there were many, many reasons why the team was so unhappy, right? So I kind of picked up 5 themes. One was rewards and recognition. Second, so what were the 5 big themes which people were very unhappy about? And I said, I created a new team under me, which is a team leads. The people who will report into me, I picked up certain people who I felt had the potential to lead. And usually what happens, when leaders join, when leaders move to new companies or move to new teams, they take people from their earlier teams and earlier organizations and come because the rapport is there and you can work. I never do that. I really believe in enabling people from below and kind of growing them. So I picked 5 people and I said, you are my team leads who are going to report into me. And each of these problems that they had identified, whether it was promotion, whether it was opportunities, I gave it to them. I said, you people are complaining about this. I am here to support you, but you tell me, how do we change this? Now suddenly they were empowered, right? They had all the power to do whatever was required to change the current situation, which they never imagined. Till then, they were only in the complaint mode. Nobody does anything, nobody does anything. And suddenly I tell you, go ahead and change. Tell me what you want and I will support you. And that just changed the equation. So we used to run what is called as a staff engagement survey, which used to talk about how engaged the staff are. It's not satisfaction, it is engagement. See, satisfaction, you cannot satisfy people because Pooja may like this in the team, I won't like it. So satisfaction is impossible to achieve, but engagement is more deeper. It's okay if I don't like the food which is being given. It is okay if I don't necessarily like, the timings of the office. But the work is so good. I like the, vision of the organization. So I'm still very engaged. So we used to run a staff engagement survey. So when I joined, the staff engagement survey for this team was 38%, which means that only 38% people felt engaged, which was quite obvious from what the management also said, saying that this is a team which is very unhappy, right? It took me time. It didn't change the first year. It didn't change the second year. It took me 3 years. But by empowering the people under me to say, tell me what we need to do so that things can change, I moved some people out so that they can grow in other teams. I brought in fresh blood into our team. We got in new projects and all of that. The third year, when we ran the staff engagement survey, it was 65%. You can never get 100%. The industry standard and ANZ, the highest in those days, used to be 72%. In Bangalore, ours was the highest staff engagement at 65%. And that happened because I enabled them. I didn't boss around and say, hey, my management has said that you're very unhappy. People, you don't mix with the rest of the team. I want to move you out. I'm going to bring in some fresh blood. If I had done that, everything would have been shattered. But I said, I am allowing you. Tell me what needs to be done. And things changed. That's one of the stories.
Absolutely true, ma'am. So it is my personal question. I have this my personal question, and so many times I think about it. Like, whenever there is an interview and whenever the employer is in a hiring process, they talk about, the personal dream, personal growth of employee. You will get a lot of things. You will get, a lot of, growth and all those things. But when you join the organization, suddenly all things vanish. Okay, they talk about it, don't think about, your personal and so many things. This is your work, you have to do this. Okay, so I just think about it, they don't talk about what, that person's dream is all about. What I feel is, I might be wrong, I don't know. Okay, but I think is, if you talk, if four people are in your team and if you're talking about it, okay, what is your 5 years dream, after 5 years, where you want to see in yourself, like might be in terms of wealth, or might be in terms of promotion, or might be in terms of personal growth. So if, as a manager, if I can help him to achieve, or maybe I can help him to find out the roadmap that 2 years you need to work on this skill set, then you can get the promotion, and that's how your income will increase. Or might be you can achieve that car, whatever you want to achieve, or you might be go for the vacation wherever you wanted to. So I feel is, if I can enable this like this in my team, so that they will be automatically motivated to achieve that, and with their personal dream, the organizational goals and dreams, that also will be automatically achieved. But why this organization don't talk about it? Always they, if somebody want to have a personal growth or something like that, they will feel, no, 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 why you are doing this? This is not required. You are always thinking about themselves. You are always talking about personal growth. So that's what I want to ask, ma'am, that why they are not talking about individual dream, why they are not talking about their employees dream, which they were talking about some years back when they have joined the organization. So am I correct, like if we work on the individual dreams or their aspiration, so that we can meet both the goals and it will be in the automated process? I might be wrong also. I want to know about your views.
Sure. So obviously, there is an individual dream, and at some point in time, that has to also align with the organization's vision, right? You can't just say, okay, I'm just going to, come and sit. This person, Ishan Sharma, have you watched his? He's a great YouTuber and has tons of followers. Do you watch him?
I heard him, I think,
If not,
3 times.
yeah, I heard him recently at a conference where he was saying how he's just 24, okay,
Yeah.
and he's achieved what he has achieved. So he told the story about he joined with Goa because that's a standard thing, no? That you go, you do your engineering, And that's how our country is. Even today, it hasn't changed. That you think that only engineering, medicine, and maybe a law is the only three things. Who thinks that you can do podcasting? Who thinks that you can do many other things? So he had joined with school. And then there was this COVID time when he started on his YouTube journey and all of that. And then after COVID, when he had to go back to his institute, which is BITS, he just couldn't, sit and, just do the classes. He just couldn't do that. Because he had seen so much of excitement, interest, and growth from his YouTube channel, kind of interviewing people and having a studio and doing whatever editing and everything else that he was doing. So he went and spoke to the dean, and he said that, see, I need a studio. I will come, I'll study, I will do all of that, but I need to set up a studio, maybe inside the campus or outside the campus. It is important for me. And the dean found it very, amusing. She said, I think it is a she. So such a thing cannot happen. Just for you, we cannot, allow you to set up studio and all of that. So he said, okay, then I will leave. I don't want to complete my studies because the studio is so very important for me. And his parents supported and he walked off. So, so when you asked this question, it reminded me of that organizations are in some ways like that, right? Whether they are understanding what is the individual team. However, the person also needs to understand. In this case, of course, he walked out because he didn't want to study. He had already seen success in this. Supposing he had not yet seen success, but he felt that this is something he wants to do, then he would have giss out, quit out, and continued with his studies. We don't know where it would have ended. So one is that when you join an organization, you should understand the organization's vision. And in some ways, you should be able to contribute to the organization's vision. It can't be that I will take salary from you, but I will keep doing what I feel. It cannot be like that. So that is why the why and purpose is so important. If you're only thinking that this company is giving me a great opportunity, it will give me a lot of money, let me go in, but it does not align to your underlying purpose, then at some point in time, you will start getting angry and annoyed and disappointed and depressed. Then leaving the company will also become a challenge because the money is coming in. So to leave that good money, you may have taken some loans, that becomes, a frustrating life. So the first thing I want to say is when either you start a business or you go and join somebody else, you join an organization, we need to understand the organization vision quite well and then see whether it is aligning to whatever purpose we have identified. I'm not talking about, huge purpose, but there has to be something simple enough that I should know why is it that I should join here and not somewhere else beyond just the money that comes. Now, the other side, organization and the leadership also needs to understand and give certain opportunities to their teams. So when I was growing up in organizations, which is 30 years ago, we used to have these training plans. Every year, there was a mandate that we do 5 trainings or 10 days worth of training we should take up. So there will be a calendar, we can just pick and choose. So we would apply and it has to be approved by our manager. So if I picked up a training and I was in technology, right? So supposing I picked up a particular training and that technology is not being used in my team, my manager will not approve it, saying that you're going to learn, but we are not going to use it in our team, so I'm not going to approve. Now that is a wrong mindset, right? I want to learn that because there is a personal aspiration. So learning cannot be combined with, whether it will help the organization immediately or not. Maybe you'll get a project after 2 years where this can be put to use, right? So that is very narrow-minded, is what I would definitely want to say. Those who are listening to this, that is very narrow-minded. Now, today learning doesn't happen like that. People can learn anywhere, anytime, at the fingertips, you have everything possible that you can learn. So learning was an example to say how organizations or leaders stop growth of individuals. Now, the second thing is that sometimes there is insecurity. If the leader is insecure that this person, if I give him or her every possible opportunity, he will grow in such a way or she will grow in such a way that my job could be in danger.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that insecurity, sometimes the people may not allow the team members to experiment a bit or do a few things which are not necessarily part of the whatever the teamwork is. Now, my only point here is that if you don't allow it, somebody else, will actually take up your position, because if you are not growing, if you are not keeping up with the times as a leader, then your job is anywhere at threat. Okay, so don't have those insecurities, but try to grow yourselves also by learning, by networking, and whatever else exists to kind of ensure that you are able to give your role to a person who's working under you, and you take up a role of someone else who's above you, and that is one of the biggest leadership traits of today. The best of the leaders will make themselves redundant and allow somebody else, enable somebody else from your team to pick up your role, which means that you should also have grown in such a way that after you make yourself redundant, you have another role that you can pick up, which could be your leader's role, your manager's role, or some other role in the organization. So that insecurity is what kind of sometimes makes people not allow for the person's growth. The third thing I want to say is that most companies, the big companies that have really scaled, allow for a little bit of experimentation time to their employees. Okay, which is 20% or 10% of the work hours. The employee can do whatever he or she feels, experiment, toy, or build a new app, or try to solve some other problem. And if you heard the story, that YouTube was built like that. Some team that was experimenting, and YouTube actually came out of that experiment, and today look at what YouTube, like, you are going to put this podcast out on YouTube. It's such a big thing. So most organizations which are innovative actually allow, and hence most leaders who want innovation in their team actually allow for a little bit of time for the team members to do what they like, so that they are happy, the team members are happy, and in some ways, the work that they do, even with that experimental work, actually contributes to the organization growth. So, my answer is that to the individual, definitely try and align in some way your purpose with the organization purpose. Otherwise, you are not joining the right company. And to the leaders, don't think that by allowing someone to grow, your growth will be stunted. You also need to kind of, keep up, with the current trends, and make yourselves redundant so that the other person takes your seat and you can.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You have answered my question. I think I got my answer, and so many people like me. So, I was watching your TEDx talk, ma'am, and where you were sharing your story, and you stress one word like, be yourself. And in today's world where everybody want to be like somebody else, they all are what to becoming somebody else, and copying each other. And even though at workplace also, they want to fit in with the culture, with the people and everything. So in that case, like, how somebody can embrace their imperfections, or maybe whatever they are, and and can excel in their workplace or maybe in their career? How come it can be possible, ma'am?
Okay, so we've heard this word called as diversity, right? And it's also proven that diversity actually betters business outcomes. And when I say diversity, is not only about gender. Gender is one aspect of diversity, which is kind of spoken very highly about. But culture is also diversity. There are different cultures, and hence there is diversity of cultures. Ability is also diversity. People with persons with different abilities. That is also diversity. However, diversity is each of us bringing in our unique perspectives. You and I are also diverse because of our experiences, because of the way we have been, the way we have grown, the school we went to, the college we went to, the friends that we've had, whatever learnings we have had. We are very diverse. You and I are very different. So why is it that you are having a diverse set of guests on your podcast? Otherwise, no one is going to listen to more than 2 or 3 episodes, right? If you have the same kind of people, now you call Neeraja, I'm sure there are many others who are coaches and are working in a similar space. If you keep calling, some same people, same kind of people, you're not going to have any viewership of your episodes, right? No one is going to listen to more than 2 or 3 episodes. So that is why you need diversity of guests. Similarly, there is an importance for diversity in any organization, in anything that you do, which doesn't necessarily have to be gender or ability. It is just the person that you are, which is what is so important in you having been hired. They hired you and not the other person because of who you are. So if you do not bring who you are to the workplace, to every discussion, to the way you do the work, and to the outcomes, then what is the point of they having hired you? They can replace you with somebody else, right? So you rightly said, being yourself is like a superpower. Okay. So how can you blend that with the organization vision, the team dynamics, the business outcomes? That is your leadership strength. You cannot just offend people and say, see, this is the way I am. So I'm going to be like this. I want to be myself. This is the way I am. You do what you have to do. That's not the way you have to be yourself, but you also have to ensure that you take the team along. You have to be able to show them why your viewpoint is so important, which is so different to everybody's point of view. It will definitely bring in the required outcomes. So be yourselves because that's the only way you can contribute and be a differentiator. But at the same time, take everyone else along with you. That is, a good person and a good leader.
Yes, absolutely true, man. Thank you for sharing that. And most of the time, as you said, no, people also said like that. I'm like that. What can I do? I will be like that only. I will behave in certain way only. But it should not be like that. You need to consider other people, but you should not lose your essence, who you are. So that's what the whole conversation was all about. So, ma'am, you were talking about personal brand a lot. We have heard about, and I think it is one of your favorite topic as well, and it's mine also. So many times, ma'am, I get this question. Even though when I teach this to my students, sometimes I get this question, ma'am, why you are making us an influencer? You are telling we are belong from engineering field, why you are telling us to be an influencer? So today this question from my student side, like, what is the difference between personal brand and influencers? We are not tell them and explain them that we are not making them influencer, the first. Second thing is that why it is needed, even though you are not doing business, you are not going to become a creator, you are just doing simply your job, or you are into a employment field. So why it is necessary and how it can make you different from other the people who are like you, how it is making different make yourself different from others. So that's what I would love to know about from you, ma'am.
Sure. So branding does not mean you are becoming an influencer. It doesn't mean that you have to influence. Influencers are a different category. Branding means you are going to become a thought leader. So influencers are different to thought leaders. Okay. Um, Very loosely put, and I don't want to get beaten for this, but influencers may not necessarily be displaying any of their thought leadership. They are largely promoting someone else's brand. Okay. And hence they have in some ways garnered a lot of followers and people just love them for whatever reason. Maybe the way they look, maybe the way they dress up, maybe the way they speak. And hence, whatever they say, people, because they have a blind following, they just kind of, are able to influence. But thought leadership is different. Thought leadership is about what do I think about a particular aspect, which is equal to my brand. Now I can think about 100 things, but if I'm going to talk about 100 things, then I have no one brand, and people are very confused. Okay, but if I talk about one or two things, or maybe even three, like I am known, like Pooja already said that I speak a lot about personal branding. I speak a lot about networking. I speak a lot about storytelling. Okay, so people know me for all of this. These are some of the workshops requests that I keep getting. Okay, we want to talk about networking or conduct a workshop on networking, conduct a program on storytelling, and so on. That's the brand that is. I do a lot of work for women. Okay, that's a brand that I have because my perspectives around this space are unique. They are different to many others, and that's the brand that I have. Now, why is it important? It doesn't matter whether you're an engineering student, whether you're working in technology, whether you're working in manufacturing, or you are a content creator or not a content creator. Why is it important for everyone to have a personal? Let's start with the fact that all of us have a personal brand. We can't start building one today unless the baby is born today, right? Because of whatever we did in the last 20, 30 years, for me, 50 plus years of my existence on this planet, my brand already exists. What I say, what I do, how I show up, where I show up, will builds a particular perspective about me. Whether it is right or not, we don't know, but there is a brand. Okay. So when a brand anyways gets created, why not we intentionally create it in the way that we want people to know about us? So that's the first aspect. That's why it is so important. Second, it is a very crowded market. Let's not only India, but globally, we are in a very crowded market. If you are a young student, this is a real life story that I have to say. When I was working in one of the organizations, we suddenly got a project where we had to hire freshers. Now we had finished our placement, hiring, going to colleges, for placements. We had finished that, but we suddenly needed new, freshers for this new project which came. So the company decided that they will just ask the employees to refer instead of going back to colleges or instead of putting out an ad and all of that. They said we have so many people, let each person refer. All of us will know some fresher sitting somewhere. Let them refer, and then we'll go ahead. And I have to tell you that on day one, we got about 40,000 references of freshers.
Oh,
40,000 on day one. Can you imagine that number? This is in an era where colleges are placing students. Okay, despite that 40,000 on day one, we had to close it that day. So we say, okay, out of this 40,000, even if I have to select 1,000, how do I do it? Of course, I know today technology exists and we can do all of that, but the reality is that despite college having placements, 40,000 people are still looking for a job. Either they have not got placed, or even if they've got placed, they're not happy with their job. Now, how do you differentiate yourself? How will you be that one out of 40,000 or 1,000 out of the 40,000? Because most, you can say, I'm in the best college. It really doesn't matter. Eventually, when you come to the interview, it is who you are. Okay, you could be from the premium colleges, you could have studied and you could have a GPA or whatever it is. Eventually, how is it that you differentiate yourself from the rest? Now, even to come to the interview, your brand matters, right? And this is not only for freshers. This is the situation if you are a woman on a career break and you apply for any role. There will be 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 women on a career break applying for the job. So that is why this is a situation of ample supply of talent, limited demand. So when you have limited demand, then how is it that you differentiate? You say that I am the person for this and not the other 1,000, 10,000 women, 10,000 students, 10,000 leaders. Even if I were to apply for a job today, there will be, that kind of competition. Why is it that Neeraja will get invited to do a program on networking when there are 20,000 other people who can do a program on networking, right? That's the brand. So it doesn't matter who you are. for you to differentiate yourselves from the rest of the crowd. What is that uniqueness that you have because of which you should be invited to the interview, or you should be given the job, or you should be, given the contract, or you should be asked for the training, or you should be a guest on the Pooja show. That's why your brand is so very important. So branding is very, very important. And quickly, I'm going to also break a myth. Branding doesn't mean writing on LinkedIn. I mean, that is just one aspect of it. People think, oh, if I write one post every day on LinkedIn, suddenly my brand is there. No, no, no. That's just kind of enhancing your visibility. But your brand is basically what thought leadership you have about whatever is your subject matter expertise, or what is that area that you want to focus on, right? So I will, in the early days, my brand should have been about technology because I work in tech. Now, because I want to do a lot of work in the space of women and students, my brand has to be. So the thought leadership that I exhibit, which means that the programs that I do, wherever I speak, whatever I write, when I do my mentoring, when I appear on my podcast, so whatever it is, it has to be aligned to that. That's when people will start remembering you for that particular brand. So I remember, I had been invited to moderate a roundtable discussion around diversity in India. I mean, there was a new organization that was setting up in India, and they had come from Canada, and they wanted to understand what are the diversity practices in India. What do companies do around diversity, equity, inclusion? So the person who invited me, she said, "You can you moderate?" And they had invited some other organizations, DI leaders, technology leaders, some other platforms heads who were working in this space. When I walked into that room, this person said, the minute we were asked to, put together a round table to discuss DEI, we knew that it was Neeraja who had to moderate this, which means I was the first person who came to their mind when DEI was spoken. That is branding. All right. So, of course, you have to do everything around that, but then writing and showcasing that on LinkedIn is also a must. But not doing anything and just writing a post on LinkedIn is not branding. Just putting your pictures and using the right hashtag, which have a lot of followers, will not do any wonders to you. So again, I'll give you a story. Recently, a very young girl, she said she's going to take up a challenge to write 100 posts in 100 days on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is this post going to be about? She is doing a 100-day data analysis course. So she said every day what she does, she will put it out on LinkedIn. Now, if you were to look at the engagement on those posts, how many people are reading it, how many are liking it, how many are commenting, it's almost nil. So she came to me for mentoring. She said, I want to write LinkedIn posts. So, and she told me she's doing this. I said, who's reading your posts? I said, whose post will you read? First, you try and understand that. She said, I'm going to read posts from where I get some value. So I said, then what is the value add that your post is doing to the audience? If you can do a 100-day course from wherever, why your audience can also do that 100-day course, right? Why will they come and read your post? So, what is it that you should be writing about? What you are a young student who's gotten a lot of internships, you've done some internships, you are facing some interviews. I think you should be writing posts about how did you land those internships? What has been your experience in those internships? What are your tips to crack interviews or face interviews? When you start writing this is value add. For who's the audience? All the youngsters who are trying to get themselves a job, right? And also, not only will the youngsters, enjoy your content, you will also be seen by the recruiters because you're actually talking about your experiences of having worked. Even the leaders, because she said, I want to get into the data space. That's why I'm doing the data analysis course. So I said, also the leaders from the data companies are going to read your content and realize that you're so mature. That's the way you're going to get hired, or at least get a call for the interview. Not your 100 posts of data analysis, right? So that's branding, and that's the importance of branding.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was so elaborative, and I hope my audience will understand And especially the student, they can differentiate now between the influencers and personal branding. So thank you so much, ma'am. It was amazing. I enjoyed a lot. So any feedback which you love to give me for improvement, or might be, if you love anything about my show or anything about me, I love to listen that.
No, this was brilliant. I mean, yeah. The fact that you decided to do this is itself, a great inspiration for many. I'm sure, as you said in the very beginning, hundreds of people would have asked you, very dear and close friends and family would have asked you, why are you doing? What is it that you're going to get out of it? But you kept at it and you reached where you have reached. So it's brilliant. I enjoyed the conversation. It was very, very natural and free flowing. And I think you've done enough research, which is also one of the great, practices that a host should definitely do. And I only wish you all the very best. And for anything new that you are going to launch, all the very best.
So, friends, hope you loved today's episode and you learned so many new things today. So, what now you need to do three things. The first thing is that if you are new to our channel and first time you are coming and watching us, then do subscribe us so that you can get the latest episodes update. Second thing is that if you like this episode, you think that learn so many things from this, then please do share this episode with one of your friend or colleague so that they can learn from it, because sharing is caring. And third, if you think that any person or any guest should be a part of this episode, invite those people and you want to learn from them, please mention their name in the comment box and always give us your suggestion and reply so that we can get inspired and bring lot of guests like these on our platform. And thank you so much for giving lot of love and appreciation through your comments and likes. So see you in the next episode of Pooja's Talk Show.